So, welcome to the first week of math planning for grades 4 to 6. We're really glad you are able to join us here today. We have some great information packed into this hour together. We are recording it, so you will get an email with the link to the recording and a link to the slides that are being shared. And on the note with the shared slides, you'll see Jackie's slides right now on the screen, and then we have sort of a nice cleaned up version that we'll put the link to in the chat called the companion slides. And those slides are editable and they have all the information you need from today in the companion slides. So once you have that link here very shortly, you'll be able to access everything you need. If you're joining us on a phone or if it's awkward to open the companion slides, just type your information into the Zoom chat. That's a great way to participate as well. So if we get started, welcome. We have a land acknowledgement video that Jackie will play here for us.
The land plays a big factor in who we are. That's what makes us strong. That's what makes us strong people.
Growing up, my grandma always told me that the land took care of us and it still is taking care of us. And it never asked for anything back.
It is a way of life to always honor the environment. It's not something that you just can turn on and off. It's a living daily lifestyle.
So Jackie, I love with the land acknowledgements how you often remind us just to take a moment and just close your eyes if you want to, or just think back to a time that you were out on the land somewhere, wherever your setting is, somewhere that you were able to touch the grass, breathe the fresh air, and just really remember how that feels. And I know we're just so appreciative of all the people who have come before us, who have looked after this land and this space. And we hope to continue to care for it and look after it. Myself today, I'm actually down in Treaty 6 area. Usually I'm in Treaty 7, but down in Treaty 6 in the Edmonton area. And I know we're spread across the province today. So we definitely welcome you from whichever area you are joining us. Sure, Helen, and we can paste a link to that video. Absolutely. Yep. So welcome. Jackie and I worked together to plan these sessions. We did a K-3 one yesterday and the 4 to 6. Jackie will be leading us through a bunch of information. I'll just be typing in the background. So if you guys have questions for us at all, our emails are here in the slides that you'll have shortly, and you can definitely access it and ask your questions. So the introductions, Jackie.
Thank you, Wanda. Well, I'm really pleased to have been able to be given the opportunity to work with Wanda on this. She did the session yesterday for K-3, and I'm taking over to 4 to 6. So today, my name is Jackie Ratkovic, and I'm coming up from Cold Lake, Alberta. It's so sunny outside and beautiful outside, so we appreciate everybody showing up today for this hour. I've been working up in this area for Learning Network now for 23 years and working mainly with kindergarten to grade 9 math teachers and doing a little bit of technology as well. So that's a little bit about me. Go ahead, Wanda.
Thanks, Jackie, and I'm always happy to work with you as well. It's nice we can team up. Similar role, I'm based in the Calgary area, working on math, a little bit of science, and some of the technology. So we're really happy to be here with you guys today.
Awesome. Thanks, Wanda. Well, I'm going to get started, and I've done a lot. Wanda and I both have done a lot of work within schools with teachers, talking about, usually this happens in June, but talking about what those first few weeks of school could look like. How can we set up an environment where kids are excited about math? And in that first week, how do we get kids to run home and out of all the subjects go, Mom, in math, we didn't start a worksheet, or we didn't start on page 1 in the textbook. We actually did this, and we built this, and we talked about how we talk to each other. Those are the things we want to ignite a fire under those kids in grade 4 to 6. And we know that in grade 4 to 6, what happens is those kiddos already have decided who they are as math learners. And sometimes that is easy to change, but sometimes it's not. And we have to understand the different abilities and levels that come into our classrooms. And then how do we pull out their strengths instead of focusing on their struggles? So that's kind of going to be in a nutshell what we're going to kind of work around today. The 5 key areas of focus for today are going to be that building trust and beliefs, inspiring curiosity, promoting collaboration, establishing expectations, and maybe some math activities that go along with it. And so as we go through today, please feel free to ask questions in the chat. Wanda's going to be moderating that in there. I know that somebody above put in their email address, but what's going to happen after the end of this session, you'll get a recording, and then you're also going to get a link, a follow-up email with the recording and a link to the companion slides. So those will come, but you're also going to get them soon within the chat. So with that, I'm going to get Wanda to put the companion slides. Like she said, this is a condensed version. It's all the most important information that you're going to see from today. So if you're in the companion slides and you're going to start coming into them, they're going to be kind of this purpley color. I'm going to be presenting off these white slides, but the companion slides are going to look like this. And Wanda just put that into the chat. I'm going to give people a few minutes to look into that. I know sometimes people, if you're coming in on your phone, sometimes it's a little harder to kind of follow along, which means you just follow along with me as we kind of go through that today. People who are listening to the recording, you'll click on that bit.ly link and you can pause the video and take a look at some of the slides as we go through. So the first thing I'd like you to do, if you don't mind, is I want to just kind of get an idea of who is here. How many people are grade 4, 5, and 6? You can see there's little check marks. They're cloned, so you can just slide them under which grade level you teach. If slide 4 is getting too congested, please slide down to slide number 5, and then Wanda and I can just kind of get an idea of who's here. If you're like, ooh, that's too tough for me because I'm on my phone, just please go ahead and put it in the chat. So I'll give everybody a minute to do that. And if anybody's having any difficulty getting into the companion slides, just please let Wanda know in the chat and she can help you out with that. And for people who are maybe not as familiar with Zoom, sometimes it helps when you're doing the session to kind of split your screen. So maybe on the left-hand side, you have the Zoom presentation that's going on right now. And then on the right-hand side, maybe you have the companion slides that are opened up so that you can kind of interact with Wanda and I together. It's always awkward doing an online session because it's really nice to try to get to know. There's some people within the room here that I know already. It's nice to see you and thanks for coming back. But sometimes we want to try to make this as interactive as possible. And so that's why we like the companion slides and have you have the ability. So as I'm looking, Wanda, it looks like we got, just like the K to 3s, we got a good mix of grade 4, 5, and 6 teachers, and other could be principals or coaches that have come in today to kind of join us. So you can see that on slide 4, 5, and 6. So welcome. Another huge important component for Wanda and I are slides 6 and 7. There are some of you that have been teaching quite a few years, in the middle years. You have so many great things to offer. So as we go through today, I am going to ask some people about some of the ways that they start off their year. And with the K to 3s, we were very fortunate to have them put some links under the grade levels of some of the things, slide decks they use, websites that they use. And so Wanda and I are not the only 2 people here who know how to start the first few weeks of school. We have lots of people within this room with expertise, and some people who are just starting off. So they would appreciate the wisdom that's coming from the room. So anybody feel free, your editors on slides 6 or 7, to just plug in any ideas that you think that you can help your colleagues across the province of Alberta here with any kind of ideas. So that's open slides 6 and 7 as we go through the presentation for you to kind of lay those ideas out. So these are the companion slides. You're going to find everything we're going to do today on there. And the first part I want to start with is that getting to know your students. So getting to know our students at the beginning, research has said that students decide how they're going to determine how they want to treat you as a teacher within the first 30 seconds. Lots of pressure. Okay. And so the big thing here is we want to give those students that idea of what this math class is going to look like, sound like, feel like. And we have the whole week to set that up. And so the first piece that I want to kind of take a look at, Wanda introduced me to this video, building relationships between teachers and students. And it's this little video here, and I'm going to play it, and it's only 56 seconds.
Are doing. One of the things that a lot of people, when they hear this, are kind of wondering about it and almost afraid of is like, well, how do I connect with 40 kids in a classroom? And I just want to reassure people that the timeline for connecting with a person is literally milliseconds. That if you as the teacher feel regulated and confident, you can, with the tiniest little glance, make a child feel like you're paying attention to them. Because the reality is you are. If you as the teacher are regulated and you're really in that moment listening to a student as they talk, they'll feel that. You don't need to be relationally in a personal relationship with every single kid, but you need to be relationally present and relationally respectful. And that only takes a moment. Now, the other thing that's really a powerful tool for educators is that children see how a teacher treats another student. And so if they see you treat another student that's struggling with respect and kindness, they're able to generalize that to how they will treat you. And so the challenge of being connected with kids in your classroom is not as great as somebody might otherwise think. It really, these little moments are powerful. And so in the hallway, if you see a kid that you know is in your classroom, and you just take a moment and say, hey, what class are you going to? And that's, wow, you noticed me. And if you say their name, little things like that literally can create a relational connection. And furthermore, those interactions are regular. So it makes the child feel connected and safer. And which means that even though you don't realize it, you doing that for that 10 seconds in the hallway makes this student better capable of learning in the next classroom, because his cortex will be more available for business.
Okay, so in the chat, just kind of put some reflections upon that. What you noticed when you watched that video. Any aha moments, anything to ponder, to think about? Yeah, thanks, Katie. That active listening, that relational. And I always knew, like, when I watched that video, I always knew that, I need to use students' names, greet them at the door in that first week, get interested in them. But what really hit home to me was that reminder of kids are watching how we all know that one kid, right? We all have those kids that we have in our classroom that we're like, oh, that kind of set us off, trigger us ourselves. But I think that the big piece there was that how you treat other students will affect how other students feel within the classroom. And thank you for all the comments within the chat. Wanda and I really appreciate feedback in the chat because it makes us feel like we're part of this group today. The other part is, what dispositions are important in learning? How might you continue to build these dispositions? Things like perseverance, patient problem solving, collaboration. How many of you just in the chat put a Y in the chat and an N for no and a Y for yes? How many of you have heard of ucube.org? ucube.org. Okay, Wanda, they're gonna love this because this is my favorite. Wanda's and I favorite site for. They actually have tasks for the first week of school within there with lesson plans, everything laid out on there, and we're gonna kind of share that and engage in that. And so, what I like about it is this. They talk about mistakes are powerful, and we're going to show you soon where to find this, but they have like the first weeks of math, anywhere from kindergarten all the way up to grade 9. And they have activities for you to do, and it's building around dispositions, collaborating, working in a group, how we talk to each other in a group. And so this is one of the videos over here that I just wanted to show you that talks about mistakes and how powerful mistakes can be in learning. We have a lot of students, grade 4, 5, 6, they come in, they're erasing their paper so hard that it starts ripping. Then they throw it in the garbage or they scribble it, because what happens is they don't want you to see that they made a mistake. How do we change that? How do we have kids understand that mistakes are learning opportunities? So I'm just going to play this little video. It's not too long, but it's going to give you an idea of what the videos are like on the ucube.org.
Been working on this one for so long. I just can't get it right. Every time I try something, it just doesn't work. I keep on messing up. I should just give up.
We weren't learning for this area because there's a ton of brain growth going on.
What do you mean? I've been failing at this problem.
Your brain has grown so much while working on this problem.
But I can't figure out if I make a mistake after mistake. I can't do it.
Exactly. Every time you make a mistake, a synapse fires in your brain. Synapses are connections that your brain makes every time it grows and creates new pathways.
Really?
Yeah, struggle and mistakes and challenge are great for your brain. Your brain is like a muscle. The more you work it, the stronger it gets. And challenging problems are great workouts.
So I should make mistakes and struggle?
Yes, we learn a lot and have a lot of brain growth, especially when we're making mistakes and working on hard problems.
So don't give up. Keep going. Some problems go unsolved for years, and that's fine. What's important is how much you learn while you're trying to solve them. Keep taking risks. Keep making mistakes.
Yeah, and your mathematical thinking process is super important and awesome. So if you keep learning and making mistakes, that's what's important.
Wow, I had no idea. I'm gonna keep working, and when I make a mistake, I'll know that my brain is growing.
Many people in school feel bad when they make mistakes. There's so much emphasis on everything being correct, even though that isn't that great for brain growth.
Yeah, I know when I was in school, I really hated making mistakes.
And brain science tells us those are the best times for brain growth. Those are the times when your brain is really struggling and when you're really challenged. Those are really good times for brain growth.
That makes sense with my experience. I feel like once I stopped worrying about being right or wrong, my brain was just on fire, and in a good way.
Okay, so I just wanted to give you a little look at some of the videos that are on here, and there's many videos for you to be able to choose as you're kind of taking along looking at this. And so the other thing is establishing expectations. What do these students believe it means to be good at math? Do students see themselves as mathematicians? Sometimes giving kids a survey at the beginning of the year and asking them, I love asking the question at the beginning of the year, what advice would you give to me as your math teacher for the best way that you learn math? And if kids are all saying, sit still, raise your hand, listen, do your homework, and nothing about collaborating, talking with my peers, problem solving, then we have some work to do with that. The math activities that we want to choose during that first week, you might choose the first one. I'm going to share one with you. From that, you're going to observe what your students are doing, and then that's going to decide and might adjust your planning and your instruction. The last part that I want to show you is ARPDC has this website, and it has this on the ARPDC site, this relationship menu. I've downloaded it already, but you can, Wanda will put the link in there, but you click on here and you can put it into your Google Drive. It'll convert it to slides. And what the relationship menu looks like is this. So it's kind of a menu on here on options to build connections with your students throughout the year. Okay, so this one here is building those relationships, because we're going to talk about the first week of school, but we need to continue asking and using these questions as we go through. So on this one over here, it's a relationship bistro, or it's like a menu, because it has starters and then the main meal and then kind of a dessert. So some things are shorter and some things are longer. I'm going to showcase one is on slide 8. And I love this one that you could use with students. It's called Help Me Help You. You give students index cards, writing tools, prompts, but you give each student an index card and you ask students to complete the following sentences on the card. Feel free to add your own ideas to the list. Name or the preferred name you like to be called. I learn best when. If you are proud of me, please. If I'm angry, please. I hope we don't. If calling home, please talk to. And then success to me is. And so those ones in there could be changed for sure, but the students feel like you're really trying to get to know each one of us, and with those personalized type questions. So this is one that teachers were talking about, that they've used this one, and then this one really helped them out. Another one I'd like to showcase is slide 19. So slide 19 here, it's called Just Would You Rather. If you don't want to take a big chunk of your time in the first week and you just want to use some starter type activities that get to know your students, these would you rather type questions for grades 4, 5, and 6. They're just random questions. You can have would you rather. There's a site called Would You Rather Math Questions where they're actually solving problems. But this one here are some just general would you rather kind of questions. And so you can click here and say, like, would you rather, go to bed late and then start school late, or would you rather go to bed early and start school early? So things like that are on there. And the last one I just wanted to showcase was slide 11. This one is really cool. I've done this before in the past when I was teaching, but this is one that you can use for the whole year. So what you do is you give students postcards. And you ask students to put their mailing address on there, and you already have stamps on them. And you pre-label each postcard with student's address. And throughout the year, you write a postcard to each of your students that highlight their strengths or recent achievements. I'm going to give you a personal story. I used to do this. I sent a note home and to about some kids, and I used to pick 2 or 3 kids a week to send this off to. And I remember a parent coming into parent-teacher interview actually crying because she said that her son, the only kind of phone calls or notes that went home were never on the positive note. So that really hit hard for me, that all kids have gifts and abilities, and there's always something that we can write home to talk about their achievements. And achievement doesn't always have to be academic. It can be the way that they collaborate with each other within the classroom. So I think this one's a great one to continue that relationship building throughout the year after you establish your first week of school. It's something to try, and man, I'd love to hear some stories about that. So that is on the ARPDC website. On your companion slides that you have there, if you slide down to slide number 8, that's where you're going to, and wanted to put that in the chat, that's where you're going to find on the bottom right hand corner, that's where you're going to find that menu, that PowerPoint, and then you can download it and use whatever you want from it. So I'm going to stop for a minute. In the chat, any questions, comments, or the menu that you've seen, one of the 3 that I showed you on slide 8, 11, or 19 that you like to try, just throw that in the chat. Give me some feedback. So from those ones that I showed you, Is there any that you feel like, wow, think I'd like to try that one? Yeah, thanks, Alicia. Now, here's going to be the tough thing, finding a postcard. So if you're in your travels anywheres and you can find postcards, we can always go along online and we can find that. But the question, Annette, that I asked is from the PowerPoint that showed you the relationship menu, which one of those slides or the ones that I showed you, which one of those would you go, oh yeah, I'd like to try to give that a try? That was my question. And so there's lots of choices there because as teachers, we all have different expectations and things that we want to try with our students. So that kind of gives you those ideas. So this is the part that I'd love to hear from you in the chat. And then if there's any ways you get to know your students at the beginning of the year, please add your response in the chat, okay? Oh, I like that. Leaf 3 says that as for postcards, I use old cards. Nice. And then writing in on there. So as we're kind of going through, oh, people are already on Temu. Love it, Mona. She's already on there and found his postcards. In the chat, just write down some ways that you start off the beginning of the year. I'm going to just talk as you're writing in the chat. But if we want to continue the relationships after that first week of school, I want you to consider and rethink the math topic that you might start at the beginning of the year. I sit down with teachers and say, what is the place that kids struggle with the most? And what do they tell me? Number sense. But that's what we always usually start at the beginning of the year. We're not working on student strengths, we're working kind of on their deficits. So I challenge you to think about starting in measurement, starting in graphing, starting in geometry. After that first week of school, start off where kids can build, data analysis, build with their hands, do those types of things, and be able to work with their hands. Because a lot of times when we start off with number, kids kind of shut down really quickly because that's the part that they don't do very well. So yeah, thanks, Wanda. Entry points, geometry, patterns, spatial kind of areas. Take your curriculum and find those places after you do this first week of school. So if anybody, as we go through, wants to add any kind of activities that they might use, oh, this is awesome. And some people have already started to put some stuff on ideas. All About Me survey, people are writing 2 truths and a lie. I love this. There's lots of expertise in this room. There's going to be some extra stuff within these slides for you to be able to access. My favorite graphs using the students' names. Thanks, Shauna. So like I said, we're not the only people that know how to start off the first few weeks of school. There's lots of people within the room. So we're going to try a learning experience. I'm not putting you into breakout rooms. We're going to start with an activity. This is one that teachers have said, oh man, Jackie, this really worked out awesome for the first week of school. So I've gotten a lot of feedback. A lot of the things that Wanda and I have chosen are things that teachers have tried within classrooms. So this one is from the ucube.org. It's from the A Week of Math that group that they have, and it's called 4 4s. And what I love about all the activities is they have a little lesson plan at the beginning, and then they continue with the lesson plan. And then I just love here, look at this. I'm going to make this a little bigger. They talk about day 1, start with this video, possible video discussion, group work. Aren't these 2 the best questions in the world? I love them. After they watch this video, reflect on the things you do not like people to say and do when you're working on math in a group. And then the second question is reflect on things you do like people to say and do when you're working on math in a group. Man, you should see what opens up in those lines of communication. And then the task we're going to work on is we're going to use the numbers 1 to 20, only using 4 4s and any operations. You're going to work in groups, and well, you're not going to work in groups. You're just going to use the companion slides. and you come up with as many solutions as possible. So on the companion slides, if you slide down to slide 10, if your last name starts with an A to J, I want you to go to slide 11 to 15, and I want you just using 4 4s. You have to use 4 4s. You can add, subtract, multiply, or divide. You can add them all, subtract them all, multiply them all, whatever you want to do. But I want you to start filling in the answers for that. If your last name begins with K to Z, slide down to slide 16 to 20, pick a slide, and start filling it in. I'm going to give you guys 5 minutes. I want you, everyone here, to just experience the task, and then we're going to have a conversation about it. Okay, so I'm going to give everybody 5 minutes to start filling in those slides. If you're like, oh, Jackie, man, it's too hard for me to access the companion slides, please go ahead and put some of your responses in the chat if you're on a phone or having difficulty accessing the slides. Okay, go. Just a reminder, as you're doing the task, you have to use 4 4s, adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing. If you want to be creative and use fractions, please, by all means, go ahead. Or exponents, because, hey, we have some exponents that we have to work with. So by all means, feel free to use those as well when you're trying to come up. And I challenge you to find one as your, because the beauty about Google Slides is you can look at everybody else's answers. I hope you're doing that. My challenge is for you to find one of those 4 4s, either 14, 20, 19, and find it, and nobody else has done it yet. So that's a challenge for the last few minutes. Okay. I'm going to pull you back and get you to just kind of reflect on your experience. So sometimes you get a lot of information in sessions like this, and sometimes you just need a few minutes to look just to see if this is something that would interest you. But how could this experience help you to get to know your students? Or how might something like this help with building classroom culture? Please feel free to unmute your mic or add that into the chat. Yeah, absolutely, Sydney. This is such a great way to see how students persevere. Yep, you can feel the struggle. You can talk about productive struggle, that math is not something that necessarily is solved within 2 to 3 seconds, Trevor. So I think a conversation of perseverance after a task like this would be a great one. Yep, how they deal with frustration. Yep, Kyla, who's like stronger with the math versus others. Yeah, how they communicate. Yeah, because you're going to really notice, even when you probably started off with a lot of just adding and subtracting, or adding and multiplying, right? Because that's where our brain wants to go. It loves to add and it loves to multiply. It doesn't like to subtract and it doesn't like to divide. So you're really going to be able to see that throughout the activity, right? And then probably a precursor to this is we would want to talk to students. That's why I love this lesson plan. Reflect on the things you do not like people to say and do when you're working on math in a group. This has to be done first before this activity, because otherwise what's going to happen is they're going to go into this activity and guess what? The kid who just loves math and wants to run right through all of these and just leaves everybody in the dust, the rest of the kids are not going to feel part of the group. So we have to, as a teacher, go around and talk about, okay, so these are some of the things we like and we don't like. How are we giving everybody turns? Do we start off with, hey, what do you guys notice? What do you wonder? Which would be the easiest ones to start with? How do we get kids to ask each other those questions? And I think that these 2 questions here, man, that's going to be a great way to start off with this activity, okay? Leaders emerge in the activities like this. And so I love at the end, the closing says, having a growth mindset for math is important. We can all learn math to any level we choose. Self-belief is really important. And remember, we talked about before we started is that kids are coming in with ideas about how they are as learners. And so we have to help kind of change that, right? So yes, the lesson plan, where you find the lesson plan is on your companion slides. If you go to slide number 9, and then right here on slide 9, this is called 4 4s on the U cube component right here. Okay, so that's where you find it. That's where I got it from. Thank you for everybody really working hard in the task in the chat to kind of let us know about how this could work. This was just one sample that I was showing you. There's going to be multiple other ones you can choose. If you're like, I don't like 4 4s. Nobody yet has said, can I use a calculator? So we have to define what is the purpose of this activity. Is it, yeah, I love it, Leaf 3. You said, absolutely I was. Yes, because the purpose of this activity is, how do I work in a group? How long would I persevere? Allowing them, do they even know how to kind of play around with this activity? You know, some of order of operations, you know, begins in grade 4 and grade 5, but they might not have been taught that yet. Like, what do they know about numbers? And so I think that the big thing is for us to understand that this would be a good place for a calculator to be used. How are they inputting stuff in a calculator? You know how many kids, when you have 14 divided by 21, go 21 divided by 14. You're going to find out who can actually use a calculator as well as they're kind of going through this. So those are kind of things that you need to consider. definitely builds that classroom culture. And I love the U cubed lesson plans that are already laid out for you. And we're going to investigate that a little further. So part 3, I just wanted Wanda and I wanted to start off with some samples of smaller little tasks that you can do from the relationship menu or just some starters. Then the second part is we wanted to go into a full-blown activity like this. That activity would probably take you 2 class periods for you to be able to do. And now the planning. So there are tons of rich tasks. You can find this on your companion slides. If you go down past all of the 4 fours, if you go down to slide 22, someone's already on there and the anonymous giraffe is checking it out. The week of inspiring math tasks. This is where I got the 4 fours from. Now I know that sometimes we have students coming in who generally are struggling in math or they're excelling in math. So what I like about this, I personally, there's lots to choose from here. I personally, because I remember the old one, I like going over here for looking for the old week in math. And so then you can click here and you can pick the grades. Usually grade 4, 5, and 6, I would definitely look at grades like 3, 4, 3 to 5. That's where you probably want to be looking at. And so this is the grades 3, 4. I clicked on it and then it's honoring ideas over here. I clicked on it. And then this is where the 4 fours came from. So when you take a look here at this website, look at all this. Like there's PowerPoints that go on with the lessons. There is a whole bunch of stuff that kind of goes along. Visualizing numbers made of dots. You click on it, you get your lesson plan, you can download it. Here's the lesson plan. This is the video you start with. You talk about the number visuals and then you keep going on. So it's all laid out. They also have all the templates that you need. You don't need to be looking for that. But that is where you could kind of see, this is the one here is where I pulled UCube. This is not the only place. If you've heard of 3-act tasks, you can go to Graham Fletcher's site where you get kids to notice and wonder something about a video and then they solve the math problem for it. This one, Making Math Moments, also has some activities to work on here. We can't get through all of them, but Wanda and I wanted to give you a little bit of a choice of places to kind of take a look at. So I'm just going to give everybody, because I know some of you are like, oh my God, I love this side. I'm going to pick this. I'm going to pick this. I want you to pick anywhere from this K to 12 or 2 to 12, one of these 3 that are on your companion slides. So on slide 22, I want you to click on there. And as you're clicking, I want you to find one that totally interests you that you say, yep, I think I want to give this one a try or commit to it. And then if you really, really like it and you're going to commit to it, go back up to slide 6 or 7, put that link under the grade level. And now you've just given the rest of your colleagues more choices to choose from because you really liked it. If you can't access the slide decks, just put it in the chat and put the grade level that you think it would be great for, and then put the link, and then we'll transfer that over. So I'm going to give everybody just 5 minutes. Check the site out. Find one that you would love to start with and commit to. So about 4 minutes till 1:50. Awesome. So I see some people going back to slide 6 or 7. If there's lots of people on 6, please feel free to go to slide number 7, and they're putting ideas that they might have looked at or found from those different links that Wanda and I put in there. Are there more links than the ones that we put in there? Absolutely. But we did not want to make it overwhelming for teachers that you could add 20 sites to choose from. And we know it's the beginning of the year and you kind of want a path to follow. And so thank you for populating those slides and having a chance to taking a look at one that you might try and commit to. So I really appreciate that. So the big thing is, how do you know you picked the right task? So you looked at those tasks over there. You want to be able to pick a task that's a low floor, high ceiling task, designed that it's accessible to all students, while also providing opportunities for deep exploration and advanced thinking. The other thing is multiple approaches or solutions. So that this activity should provide that so that you can see students' strengths rather than their deficits. So like on the 4-4s, if we just see some students just adding and subtracting or just multiplying, that's their strength. And that's what we're starting off with. And then we might have students who are starting to use fractions because they're just cruising through this. And so maybe when they're going around to the groups, you can see one kid's kind of taking over and you might go, hey, I want you to use at least one fraction in your 4-4s while you're working with your group. And then the last one, collaboration would be the focus. Providing students with opportunities to collaborate establishes expectations and sets the tone for the year. But again, we can't just throw them into a task. We have to talk about what it looks like. So it depends on the disposition you want to pull out: perseverance, collaboration, group work, critical thinking, whatever it is you're working on. You have to have those discussions first so that they're aware of what they're supposed to do, because they're very used to working individually. And for the last few minutes, just getting started, this planning guide that's over here, Wanda and I created this guide. And what it is you can see here, here's all our top 5 big ideas: the building trust and beliefs, inspiring curiosity, promoting collaboration, establishing expectations, math activities. So anything that's blue is hyperlinked. And so what I did here is you can go here, you can click on here. These ones have some amazing posters that you can use. I have this Indigenous math art one that I've done with teachers. It's a phenomenal one. So as you can kind of see, there's lots more links here, but this is the part that I wanted you to be able to have a chance to take a look at. So we created this going, here's an example. The learning experience is 4-4s. You put the link here, see the lesson. What are the competencies that you want to focus on? So not only do we have to teach our curriculum, we also have to think about these 8 competencies. And so this one for me, I think, is problem solving and collaboration for me. For somebody else, it might be something different. It might be communication or personal growth and well-being. But the competencies, you can click on here, you can make a copy of this for yourself. But the competencies we have on the new Learn Alberta site, and for Division 2, you can see here under critical thinking, this is what students are expected to do. We're expected to have this. And I think the competencies are extremely important because it tells us the how. How are we supposed to teach the math that we're supposed to do? And our curriculum is the what we need to teach. And so when you're doing some of your planning, if you like the competencies, you click them off. And then what part of those developmental phases are you going to be working on? And then what's your closure activity? So we get really, this is what happens. So teachers go, Jackie, I did such a good job, found this great activity, great starter, we went into it. Then we didn't summarize. We didn't summarize what the big idea was. It's important to have a growth mindset for math. We all can learn math to any level we choose. That has to be the closure. Closure doesn't have to happen at the end of the class period. It's at the end of the project that you're working on. So if 4-4s took you 2 days to do, then your closure would come on day 2, okay? Materials. What kind of materials do I need? I would type that in here, and any accommodations that I would be able to kind of play around with. What would that be? And so I created this. You and Wanda and I put this together for you kind of on a one pager. When you get it, you just go file, make a copy. You don't like some of our categories, take them out. If you make this template better though, man, would I ever love a copy of it. So would Wanda, okay? And so where you find this one is if you go to your companion slides, and if you slide down to slide number 23, inside on the bottom, where the notes are, you can click there, or if you click on this picture, it'll also take you to that document that you're there, okay? I have 5 minutes to summarize the rest. So this is going to be part of your planning. You might be like, really, Jackie, I don't need a template. I have my own planning that I use. I'm not using that. That's okay. But some other people in the group might go, no, that's kind of going to be a way for me to make sense of it. Okay, if it's asking for access, I'll fix it up after. Sorry, I must have not said view only. I'll fix that. Finally, I love this. If you've ever heard of Sarah Vanderwerf, she talks about these name tents. So have you ever heard about name tents to use at the beginning of the year? If you have, put a Y in the chat or an N in the chat if you haven't heard about it before. A Y in the chat or an N. Okay. So it's giving me an idea. It's like kind of almost half and half. So for the people who already know how to do it, kind of ignore me. I love her site, but what it is this is the name tent. On the inside of the name tent, you put this first week feedback form. So no other kids see it. So this one, it kind of goes inside of the name tent. So when you fold it, their name goes on the front, but their responses go on the inside. And I just love this. Wanda, I'm just going to put this into the chat, but you can kind of see the site. You can access it off the companion slides. But I like this part. So what happens is on the first day, you might pose a question, or the student writes down something that they noticed about today. So this kid says, I'm excited for the challenge this class will give me. And then every night you go and you give each one of your students feedback from the comment that they said. So she says, so great, I will do my best. The next part says, there's another one down here. I like the group activity. It was fun. Good to hear. My goal is to do something fun at least once in a while. And so there's a response from the teacher. And so some of this stuff you can see on the website. It doesn't have to be about a task. It could be write Miss Van a question or Mrs. R a question. It could be, you might ask them like, what's your favorite sport and where do you play it? So it's just that this website here tells you a lot of stuff. Don't be surprised that kids are going to say math is hard. This was okay. The game was okay. I don't like stuff like this. I want to work on my worksheet. Like that stuff's going to come out from students. But it's going to give you an idea of how that works. And on your companion slides, if you go to slide number 24, I made a blank copy, and Wanda and I made this blank template for you to use. So you click on the bottom. And so the feedback form is ready to go. Instructions are on the top, students, where do they write it, and then the teacher's responses on the bottom. I love it being handwritten. I know that you could possibly do it digitally, but there's just something about that name tent. So number one, the name tent, you get to know your kids. And number two, they know that it has purpose. So we're coming to the end. The big thing is from your first week, how do you continue this work throughout the year? How do you check in with students? How do you find out and work as hard as you did in week 1 as you are on week 40? So what I did was created just some check-in questions. So in week 1, you do the name tents. Then maybe every 3 weeks, every month, you start asking about some other ones that you can see here. So here I put every 4 weeks or every 3 weeks questions that you could ask students to keep building that relationship. So in conclusion, thank you everybody for coming today. There is a guardian support in there on your companion slides where maybe some of the parents write a letter about their kiddo or their guardian writes a letter and sends it into you. This tells you how to do that on your companion slides. And so in the end, we'd love to get you to fill out a survey. Give us some feedback about today, and Wanda will put that link for us in the chat. And as you're leaving, if there's something that you walked away with today or something you're going to commit to in your first week, please throw that in the chat. Other than that, have an awesome start to your year.